Well, as Alex has just said, we're joined by our guest, Ivan Kłyszcz. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name, sir. Research Fellow at the Estonian Foreign Policy Institute. Welcome, Ivan, to TVP World Early Edition.
Thank you for having me.
So what do you make of this? There's a document that's placed on a government portal which says that Russia is unilaterally extending its maritime border, bringing the border closer to Finland and Lithuania, and then a day later it vanishes. And then we have Dmitry Peskov saying, well, yes, the document exists, but there was no political motive. What's your reading of this situation?
Certainly. It is a rather bizarre situation, and I want to emphasize how different it is from what should have been a normal diplomatic procedure. There should have been some attempt at reaching out to Finnish and Lithuanian counterparts. There should have been an attempt at making a joint proposal of making consultations. None of that happened. Instead, what we got was a one day out of nowhere a publication on an official government website of the Russian Federation stating that they want to change the border, define the borders different than the status quo right now, which is based on what was when it comes to the three Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. It had to do with what were the then Soviet era maritime boundaries. Now it's this proposal that comes out of nowhere with no consultations. Finland and Lithuania have been quite outspoken of saying that there's been no previous messaging with them when it comes to this supposed changes. And then this is kind of a very substantial change after all. This is we're talking about boundaries and borders. And then some hours later it vanishes, leading to confusion, to questions. Was this a signal of some sort? Was it an actual proposal and it was taken down? I think in this case that the attitude of authorities in Finland, but not only, also in Lithuania, in Poland, of not conceding to Russia that this was a good faith proposal that was just misplaced or something. This was an intentionally attempt to manipulate audiences and leadership in these countries by threatening to take unilateral action on maritime borders.
And now, what do you make of the way that Lithuania, Latvia, and Finland responded to this?
I praise their response. I think it was the right decision to call out what they're seeing. If I remember correctly, Finland called this hybrid action or hybrid attack, and it is indeed within the frame. It is a move within the trajectory of Russia's constant hybrid warfare against the West, against its Western neighbors, of trying to put pressure, of manipulating established diplomatic practices to create ambiguous realities that raise the prospect of some sort of military confrontation. This is something that must be taken very seriously, and I think that's the reaction of the authorities of Latvia, Lithuania, and Finland reflected that.
Is this simply yet another attempt by Moscow to spread the resources available of the Baltic states and of course the Nordic states more thinly, thereby giving them fewer resources to share with the war in Ukraine?
Definitely. Right now, all of Russian policy is directed towards Ukraine. We can interpret most of Russia's foreign policy, most of its policy altogether, in light of its full-scale aggression against Ukraine. So this has to do with that. What it has to do with moving the resources and changing the focus, I think it was meant indeed to bring attention back to having the resources for domestic security or protect borders of these countries, and it also was meant to intimidate the population of these countries, to suggest that maybe we've gone too far with supporting Ukraine, to creating this type of narrative, to give fuel to this type of narrative that already circulates, but is rather it's not the mainstream narrative. Let's say it's not the consensus in the societies. So Russia's trying to push this type of narratives, trying to change the tone of the conversation to precisely demoralize the populations of these countries that have been staunch supporters of Ukraine, to indeed harm the support that they have for Ukraine.
And what about, you mentioned now that Russia, with what it did just yesterday, that it's trying to demoralize the societies of these countries. Of course, with the ongoing war in Ukraine that Russia, of course, is waging there on the territory. And with all these hybrid attacks that we're seeing, what do you think is Russia's goal in all this? Is it maybe somehow trying to head for a direct confrontation with NATO, or will it just try to continue to try and maybe, just like you said, demoralize the societies of the countries which are in NATO and here in Europe, or is it something else?
I think in the most short term, Russia's hands, let's say, are all occupied on Ukraine. They have very little scope to now engage in some new military campaign elsewhere, be it in against NATO or against anywhere else. That said, Russia has a long trend now of militarized foreign policy, of attempting to pursue its goals abroad through military force. So, I wouldn't take this particular incident as an indication that some larger menace is brewing when it comes to some sort of conventional attack against a NATO ally. But it definitely demonstrates a constant hostile intent of Moscow against its Western neighbors, against the Western alliance, against Ukraine, and against the particular countries involved, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland.
Mr. Kłyszcz, just in the last few seconds that we have left, what can these countries whose maritime border is being threatened do? I mean, can they station warships, for example, on the existing maritime border and confront any Russian ships that come their way and attempt to enter?
I think a direct contact with Russian ships needs to be well considered within the established military defense plans. I think the broader picture is that we have rightfully focused plenty on the land border, because that's indeed where the larger threat coming from Russia, it's from the land borders. But that said, the maritime border is also important for the societies that live in the Baltic Sea. And Russia's Baltic fleet, despite its inadequacy, its weaknesses that are well known, is still a mighty force. So this is a powerful reminder that indeed the Navy is still a key component, and the alliance, the right response has been, these countries have acted the right way, which is to call out this hybrid operation, bizarre hybrid operation, and to emphasize the links with the alliance, to remain strongly committed to the alliance. And I think that's the right response for this particular incident.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much indeed for your insights, Mr. Kłyszcz, and we look forward to having you as a guest again shortly. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.